and has been backing up for the last year. Then it says, do you need more information on this area and what do you need? So for this, I would like a statement of all of the external moderations that we've had and how long people have had to wait for those external moderations. Then where is it happening? Well, it is happening in the moderations or the compliance division. That's where it is happening. Do I need more information? No, I've got that initial document. Why is it happening? Well, because we have not got enough staff, and the staff that we had, and they left, and unfortunately we couldn't replace them, and that has started to put pressure on the current workflow. Okay, do I need any more information? No, I'm fine. How is it happening? So it's happening because we haven't dealt with the backlog, and so any new projects are also needing to be dealt with, which means that the administration burden just becomes bigger and bigger. And then when is it happening? So it happens mainly at the end of every big project, but it adds to what has happened over the last 2 years. So we've answered all the questions about that specific problem. If we need more information or any other documents that's going to give us information, we would list that on the right-hand side. Okay, so we're pretty much unpacking the problem by asking what is happening, where is it happening, why is it happening, how is it happening, and when is it happening. So once we've done that, then we also need to ask with whom is it happening? Well, it's happening with all of the employees in the assessment division, and it's then impacting the sales staff and the relationships with our clients. So that's who it is impacting. Now, the next one says, who will you consult with over this problem and why? So who are the stakeholders that would be part of this project? So the first one is we would need to talk to the salespeople. Why? Because they understand the clients and what the clients need out of every project. Who else? I'm going to speak to the HR manager. Why? Because we require them to give us a breakdown of a job description that could be sent so that people could apply for a position. Then who else? Maybe the financial manager. Why? Because we need to know if we have a budget to be able to deal with the extra work and to be able to employ more people. So those are the people that I'm going to talk to. That is why I'm going to talk to them. Right, so that, then I have got page number 35. Now, page number 35, I can do a whole bunch of things with it. So I can either do a brainstorming. So I can say, okay, we have a backlog in terms of admin. Why do we have a backlog? Because we are understaffed. Why are we understaffed? Because we have not planned succession. Why have we not planned succession? Because we've been under pressure. Why have we been under pressure? Because we've had too much work and too little time. Okay, so that's what we call a 5 why. Otherwise, I can put together what is known as a fishbone. And the fishbone would say man, machine, method, material, environment. And I would then look at the problem through all the aspects that I've just listed, and I'd say, oh, you know what? I really believe that we have a manning problem, we have a methodology problem, we're not too sure what our methodology is, and we have a problem in terms of space in the office. So those are the things that we have problems with, and that is my 5 why. So you can use a flow chart, a 5 why, a fishbone, or a brainstorming to show that you can unpack this problem. So look at the different aspects, do a 5 why, drill deep, but use a tool to be able to explore your problem. Once we've got that, then we're looking at 3 possible solutions. So let's say the 3 possible solutions are to employ 2 junior clerks. That's one. Solution number 2 might be to have 2 people on contract that we could employ. And then another solution might be to use AI to do the work. Okay, so if we go to the different solutions, we need to do a risk analysis for each solution. So let's say solution number one was that we employ 2 new people. So we employ 2 junior clerks to get through admin backlog. Right, so what I'm going to then do is go, okay, what is the high rate that can happen and that would have a low impact? So it's very similar to what we have just done. So with this one, I might say, late coming. Okay, so late coming, again, it's probably going to happen, but it's not really going to affect my work too much. What might also happen is that, remember I said chronic illness, something that could happen that I need to look at. So I need to obviously make sure that the people that we employ are free from chronic illness. So I have to make sure that that happens. Also, what could happen is that we train them and they leave, and then I have to train up a new person. So it's not likely to happen often, but if it does, it will have high impact. So we train the clerk and they leave within a month. So we train the clerk and they leave within a month. That's a risk that I know that I need to take. What is not likely to happen, but could happen, and if it does, it is a very low risk on the business. So I would say something like not likely to happen plus have a low impact. So need to take holiday early. So I employ these people, they need to take a holiday early. I mean, it's a 1-week holiday, it's not going to affect my work. So there's a chance of it happening. It's a small chance, but it's also not going to affect too much of my work. So these are different things that could happen. Now, ultimately, you need five factors that you need to be aware of, and you need to plot them into the risk analysis. So this would be employ 2 junior clerks to get through admin backlog. This might be outsourcing the work, so outsourcing to a external provider. And I'd have to look at the risks here. So outsource to external provider. So I must also just go, okay, so what could be the impact? They might steal my information. That's a low chance of happening if I've got good legal contracts, but it could have a high impact. So the outsourced company steals our data. What might happen is they might not understand our business and give poor admin service. Yeah, that could happen and it would have a high impact. What else could happen? That if I outsource the work, that their rates go higher and I need to take the work back and the work is not at the right level. The chances of it happening is quite small, but it also does have a high impact. So think about 5 risks that you would have to take in order to implement the solution. So I've had solution number 1 was employ 2 junior clerks. Solution number 2 was to outsource to an external provider. Over here would be to go, okay, risk over here would maybe be, I'm going to train AI to do the admin. Okay, so a couple of the high risks is that AI steals all my information. So it can happen and it could have a high impact. Other things that AI could be problematic is that I choose a low package and then they increase the cost. So it's a low chance of happening, but it will have a high impact. Also that the AI spits out the wrong figures and I rely on those figures. So it can happen and it would have a high impact. So there's a whole bunch of things about AI that I need to risk analyze. And I need 5 factors and I need to put them in whichever block I think they belong in. So 5 factors, put them in a specific block based on the risk profile. Okay, now that we've done that, page number 39, part number 10, says that for each solution, I need to say it's either going to be high, medium, or low. So the cost of employing 2 junior clerks is going to be high. The resources needed, because I'm going to have to train them, is high. The potential risks is medium. The resistance to the solution by stakeholders, if I'm going to pay a lot of money for them, it's going to be high. Time needed to train them is going to be high. Company priority is probably medium. The benefit of the change, if we get 2 people that we can employ and train and multi-skill, it would actually have a high benefit as well. Now, if I was to outsource the work, the cost would be medium. The resources needed would be medium. The potential risk could be high. The resistance by stakeholders could be medium. The time that I need is low. The company priority, that would be medium. The benefit of the change, that would probably also be medium. Then AI, the cost would be low. The resources would be high because I have to train the AI. The potential risks are high. The resistance by stakeholders might be medium. The time needed is high. The company priority is probably also going to be high because they want more AI in the business. And the benefit of the change, unfortunately, I think is only a medium. So based on that, the actual best solution, based on all of these factors, is that I should outsource the work. Okay, so that's going to be solution number 2, outsource administrative work for the end of the project feedback or reports. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So based on solution number 2, I've done the analysis, and that's what I'm going to choose. Now, how could I measure the success of the chosen solution? Relate if this is either quality or quantity required, give at least 3 measures. So how do I know that the outsourced solution is going to give me what I need? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, cost. So the cost needs to be less than 100,000 Rand. So is that a quality or a quantity? If we're looking at money, it is a number, it is a quantity. So it must be less than 100,000. Also, maybe I'll say speed, because I need that work to be done within 2 months. Is that a quality or quantity? It is a quantity, so it has to be done within 2 months. Then a quality of work. Okay, so is that a quantity or quality? No, it's a quality. It has to be completely accurate with accurate figures. So I've shown you what the measures would be if this was to be a successful project. So it would have to be under a certain cost, it would have to be done within a certain time, and the quality would have to be at a very high level. Now, any other criteria required for success, this could include checkpoints and measurements, contingency plans, availability of resources, and buy-in of stakeholders. So a couple of the things that we have to have in place is that we need to make sure that this outsourced company has worked within the training space and understands the projects. They need to show, I need to be able to give them a template of what my project reports look like. And I need to make sure that they have experience in working with CETA verifiers. So those are the things that have to be in place in order for this outsourced solution to work. You might say we need to have a person on standby. You might say we have to have a budget that is signed off by finance. So anything over here, but it depends again on your problem and your project. Then question number 14 on page 41. Discuss the need for these changes and the benefit that your team will derive from the changes you are proposing. So if we do not get the backlog sorted out in terms of the admin, it will start to impact the relationships that we have with the clients. The client would then start minimizing the sales. That would then put us in a very bad financial position, and we'd also lose credibility in the market. So that's why we need to put that solution in place. So that is what they are asking on question 14. Question 50. What resistance to the changes do you foresee, and how will you deal with these? Oh, so this is quite interesting. So what resistance to the change? So finance could resist the change because they don't want to pay for extra providers and extra consultants. So how am I going to deal with it? Well, I'm going to need to show them what the benefit will be in rand value. And if they understand that the benefits is financial, they should be able to come on board. Also, I might need to, the current staff, they might feel that their positions are under threat because I'm outsourcing some of my work. How am I going to deal with it? I'm going to have a one-on-one discussion with each person. We're going to have clear KPIs. And in so doing, I'll say, if you meet your KPIs, we will never outsource your work. And that should give them clarity and safety. Okay, so we are always having resistance to change, and I've explained how I'm going to deal with those resistance. Then the planning project itself. So now I need to go, okay, so now I've got a solution. I need to work out how I'm going to implement or execute the solution. So the first thing I have to do is I have to put an objective in place. So we will outsource the project reports of our major projects to an outside company within 3 months. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. That is what our objective is. But in order for our objective to work, there are certain things I need to put in place. So they've given me 7 lines. I always need to give them at least 4 lines that's going to explain what I'm going to be doing. So maybe with this one, the first starting point is I need to put out a call to quote to various admin companies. All right, so that's going to be the starting point. I'm going to ask certain companies to quote. To what standard? I would have to give them a job spec. They need to understand what is required, what the project looks like. So I need to give them a project specification. All right, then budget and resources. Well, in order to just do a job spec, it's just going to take, it would require probably 4 hours of consultation and template, just workflow for the project. Okay, who's going to be responsible? Well, the person that's closest to the job would be responsible. So I will ask one of my, I will ask a quality manager to do that work. Right, by when must they have it done? I'm going to ask them to have it done within 2 weeks. Okay, then the last one says date completed. So with this one, what we'll do is we'll just assume when it is done. So let's say today is, what is today? The 23rd of April. I'd say by the 7th of May, it will be done. So I'm going to put in a date over there. So once I've done a call to quote for the various companies, what I'll do is I'll ask them to all make a proposal. So we will evaluate proposals. Okay, proposals. All right. Once we've evaluated the proposals, what we'll do is we'll have a project handover. So I'll show them exactly what I want, and we give clear time frames. So we will do a project handover with time expectations. Okay, so that's going to be the third step. Once I've done the project handover with time expectations, we're going to do a monitoring. Sorry. What we'll do is we'll just monitor the first project. And then at the end of the first project, what we'll do is we'll have a feedback session. So in so doing, I know that what I want and what I get is the same thing. So we'll do a feedback session. Okay. So obviously with all those steps, you're going to have a standard, you're going to have the budgets you need, you're going to have the people responsible, you're going to have a deadline, and then you're going to put in a date of when you believe that that would have been done. At the end, you would have a date. So this is when the whole thing is complete. And remember that the chances are that you're not going to have completed the whole thing, but I want you to pretend that you have. So the date is the date that you have a ending of the project. You're going to ask people that are part of the project or your team members to please put their names in. Any suggestions of changes, so you show them this plan chart and they say, yeah, I think we could actually have the quotes out a little bit earlier, and then they will sign. So you're going to need at least 2 people to have looked at the plan chart, given you any feedback, and they're going to sign. All right. Now, over here, page number 45, it says, insert copies of any letters, emails, reports as evidence of completion of all or any or all of the steps. So what you're going to do is, it's a problem for a reason. You must have evidence of this problem. So like one of the evidences I could use is a report showing that we are behind in terms of admin. I also have an email where we have sent through to a client to say we are behind in terms of project reports. I might also have a meeting minutes of when we had a meeting about this problem for the admin. We might also have a quote from a supplier to say this is how much it would cost us or how much we would charge in order for us to take over your admin. So I want 2 pieces of evidence, 2 pieces of evidence to show that you have complete or that you have looked at this project and that you have got evidence of this problem. Okay. Any questions about the evidence, the plan chart, and the build up to that? Okay. So again, remember, link this project to something that you are doing or something maybe that you've even done in the late future, the late past, that you can use then the evidence from that to build that specific project. All right, now page number 46, it says, did you have to take any corrective action or make any contingency plans? Describe what you did. So again, you might not have finished this project, but I want you to believe if I had finished this project, would there have been anything different that I would maybe have to do? So maybe I say, well, what we did is we asked for 3 proposals. They did it in written form. What we should have actually done is get them to come and actually do it physically. And maybe what we should have done is put two different companies onto the first project, and we should have seen their output to see if which project output was the best. That's what I would have done differently. So that's my corrective action or contingency plan. Then, how effective was your solution? Well, it has been very effective. We have now reduced the backlog from 2 years down to 6 months, and that has only taken us 3 months to be able to do that. We are on track to complete the backlog by the end of July. That's really good in terms of a solution. Then, what could you have done better and why? I might have had to consult with the financial manager in a better way because they didn't quite understand what the cost benefit analysis was, and I needed to explain it a couple of times. I might also have had one-on-one meetings with all of the providers just to give them more details as to what I was expecting. I could have also given them a template of the project report that would have sped things up. That's what I could have done better. Great. Then, question number 20. Describe at least 3 ethical components of this problem and how you address them. So here again, they're asking us to think about ethics. So I was worried that they would steal the information of our clients. And so what we did is we made them sign a non-disclosure agreement that they weren't allowed to share any information. The POPI Act, we had to make sure that they signed a POPI Act addendum to make sure that they secure the information that was given. Also, I felt really bad that we couldn't permanently employ 2 junior clerks because I really believe that we need to be part of the solution for unemployment, and that did make me sad. I also made sure that they were BE level 1 company because I do believe in empowering previously disadvantaged groups. So I've looked at 3 different ethical components and how I dealt with them. That's page number 48, question number 20. Now, page 49. What company SOPs or standard operating procedures had to be considered when solving your problem, and how did they affect the problem? So maybe we say, okay, well, we have an SOP for project reports. We gave that SOP to the outsourced company, and we expected them to follow the SOP correctly. What we didn't anticipate is that they have a different methodology. So we then consulted with the outsourced company and we redid the SOP based on the project reports, and then I signed it off and revised it. So if you have any SOPs that you had to consult or had to deal with, how did you deal with it? Did you keep it as is? Did you train people on the SOP? Did you have to revise the SOP? Did you have to make a new SOP? What was your process in terms of the SOP? Then, question number 22. How did solving this problem contribute to the overall company strategy and objectives? So how did it benefit the business? Well, because we have reduced our backlog by 12 months, we have already started to rebuild relationships with the customers. The customers now trust us more and we have more credibility in the marketplace. This will lead to better sales and a better brand image in the industry, which will lead us to being able to be sustainable and grow in the long term. So I've explained exactly why doing this would actually grow the business and how it has helped the business. So that's pretty much how we answer that question. That is page 50. Now we got page 51, and very much like what we did with Pannekoek Palace, it says describe any cultural or diversity factors that you had to deal with when solving this problem, and how did you deal with them? All right, so let's think about it. I work in a business where we have a majority white Afrikaans culture. When we contracted this business, they had a different culture. And so I had to spend time with them to understand their culture in order to communicate well with them. So that's one of the elements. Also, what else? Because a lot of our clients speak Afrikaans, they wanted the project reports in Afrikaans. So we created the project reports in English and we got them translated through AI, which helped us to be able to connect with our clients culturally through their diversity. Also, a lot of our clients are sort of in their 50s, and a lot of our consultants that we worked with were in their 20s. And sometimes they could use quite informal language in their emails. I had to have a chat to them and ask them to increase the formality, and that then helped us to address diversity issues. So anything that you saw that spoke to diversity or cultural issues. Okay, so that's page number 20, the page 51 and question number 23. All right, now page number 52, question number 24. Describe the principles of leadership and how you applied them when solving your problem. So we spoke about different leadership techniques and different leadership styles, and we spoke about democratic leadership and autocratic leadership and bureaucratic leadership and transformational leadership. All of those were in our leadership section. So with this, how did I use my leadership to help me to solve the problem? Well, I used a lot of democratic leadership because I asked the opinion of my team. I then asked the opinion of the outsourced company. I approached the customers and asked them what they would want in terms of their project reports. So I used a very democratic process to try and get information from the stakeholders. Then I was also autocratic because I had to tell them these are the exact deadlines that I want, and I'm going to hold you accountable to that, and I expect you to do it. I'm going to hold them accountable and responsible, because those are two leadership concepts, to the expectations that I gave them. We then signed an agreement to that. So I used autocratic. I also used bureaucratic because I expected them to follow a certain process, and especially with the SOPs, they weren't allowed to divert from that. And that showed that I could master a bureaucratic leadership style as well. So you tell me about your leadership styles, your leadership techniques, and how you use them to be able to solve the problem. That is page 52, question number 24. All right, now once you have done all of that, what you're then going to do is you're going to take all of those pages based on that project, and you're going to go to your manager and you're going to say, I want you to read this, and I want you to please give me some feedback. So your manager or your mentor is going to look at all these different statements, and they will rate you based on the statements. So project idea or plan was clearly given to me and presented to me. If that was done, yeah, they're going to give you a 5. Approval to apply the plan is given. Yeah, I'm going to give you a 4. Understand the objectives, timeframes, and resources that are required. Yeah, the plan chart is brilliant. It's 5. Understand the budget and resource requirements in the plan and why they're in place. Yeah, it's very clear. I'm going to give them a 4. I received regular reports on the plan's progress. Oh, I didn't really hear much from them, so I'm going to only give that a 3. The end result of the plan was communicated. Yes, they gave us clear indications of how it worked. Then the outcome was analyzed and recommendations on how to improve future performance was done. Yes, they did that. And I'm able to assist with the performance improvement ideas. Not really, but I'll give myself a 3. And then any comments that your manager or mentor might make, they put them in over there. Then you ask them to please date it, then put in their name and their signature to show that they have engaged with your planning project. Once you've done that, then, ladies and gentlemen, you are complete. That is the end of the final summative assessment. So as I said, if you are already embarked on a project based on a problem that you have picked up, please use that as the foundation of your workplace project. And ultimately, you just go through and read the question and answer it in the context of how you set up the project. Okay, so ladies and gents, any questions about the completion of both your case study of Pannekoek Paleis and the development of your workplace project, and any questions that you might have? So there is no logbook. There is no other compliance documents. It is just this one. And again, we will do the same process. When you have done with your final summative assessment, you send it electronically. It will then be assessed electronically. If it is all in order, then you will make a plan to send through the hard copy, and we will then verify that. Okay, so also I will be available. So if you do have any questions or anything that you need help with, please feel free to give me a shout. Nolwazi is still doing a weekly catch-up session. I think yours are on either a Wednesday or a Thursday. So please take a look at your Outlook diaries. She is available, and jump onto those sessions. Otherwise, I know that you have done incredible work at a very high level. And so I wish you all the best to finish your final summative. And I look forward to seeing some really good projects come out there. And also thank you again for your interaction and your answers. If there is no other questions, then I will dismiss you, and hope you have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thanks, Ryan. Bye.
Thanks, Denisha. Appreciate it. Bye, Temba. Thank you.